Recording 4. It's just past midnight, and I'm back at the materials. I came back tonight because of the photograph, specifically because of something I noticed when I was putting it away after the last session. I need to confirm what I think I saw. That's the only reason I'm recording right now. I want documentation of this before I convince myself it was a trick of the light. I have the photograph in front of me. Last time there were 3 crescent marks on the surface. I counted them twice. 3 distinct impressions pressed into the paper from beneath, or printed there. I still don't know how they got there. Arranged in a loose arc across the lower half of the image. I noted them. I moved on. Tonight there are 4. I'm looking at it now. The 4th one is positioned above the original 3, slightly left of center. It's lighter than the others, more like a ghost of a mark than a pressed impression. But it's there. It wasn't there before. Nobody else has handled this photograph, so I need to understand what that means. Whether the marks are accumulating in a pattern, whether the pattern corresponds to anything on the map, whether there's a sequence here I'm not seeing yet. That's what tonight is about. I'm going to start with the map. The map is the same one I found in the second drawer. Hand-drawn, ink on what looks like drafting paper, aged at the edges, but the lines still clean. Under normal light, it reads as a street layout. Partial, incomplete at the edges, as if whoever drew it stopped before finishing or lost access to whatever they were copying from. Under low light, it's different. I discovered this by accident 2 sessions ago. The overhead bulb in this room flickers. It's been doing it since I first came here. And in the moment before it steadies, the map shows something the steady light hides. A grid. Overlaid on the street layout, finer lines crossing at intervals, creating a matrix of intersections across the whole sheet. Tonight I'm using a lamp with a dimmer. I've been reducing it slowly for the past 10 minutes. Watching the grid come in and out of visibility as the light drops. At approximately 40% brightness, the grid is fully visible. There are column labels along the top edge, rows numbered down the left side. The intersections are unmarked except, and I only noticed this tonight, except for a cluster near the lower right quadrant where 3 intersections are circled. Small circles, drawn with the same ink as the grid. Deliberate. I've been trying to connect those 3 circled intersections to the crescent marks on the photograph. The photograph shows an exterior 47 marginal road, written on the back in someone else's handwriting, and the crescent marks are positioned across the lower portion of the image. If I treat the image as a map overlay, the positioning of the 3 original marks does roughly correspond to the cluster of circled intersections on the grid. Roughly. I don't want to overstate this. The scale is wrong, and I'm working from 2 different documents that may not be related. But the correspondence is close enough that I'm recording it before I talk myself out of it. The 4th crescent mark, the new one, sits above the original 3. If the correspondence holds, it would fall outside the circled cluster, slightly north of it on the grid. That intersection isn't marked. There's nothing there, which either means the correspondence breaks down, or the 4th mark is pointing somewhere the map doesn't account for yet. I don't know which. The ledger. Martin O'Connor's entry. I've been watching this since recording 1. The entry was already irregular when I first noticed it. The spacing was wrong, as if the entry was added after the surrounding entries were written, inserted into a gap. His name, his dates, the marginal notation, all of it present, but something about the physical placement on the page suggested afterthought rather than original record. Last session, the entry had changed. The handwriting was different. Not just the marginal notation, but the main entry itself, altered or overwritten, the original ink still faintly visible underneath the new. I couldn't read the original anymore. What replaced it said, "Unknown entity." 2 words. In a hand I didn't recognize, using ink that wasn't there before. Tonight I opened to that page expecting to see the same thing. It's blank. not faded, not obscured. The page where O'Connor's entry should be is completely clean. No indentation from the original writing, no trace of the ink that replaced it, no evidence anything was ever printed or written there. The pages on either side still have their entries. The sequence of names continues around the gap as if O'Connor was never in the ledger at all. I sat with that for a while before I kept going. Then I turned to the back section where Hannah T. Morrison's name had appeared. The name that was crossed out when I first found the ledger. Two thin horizontal lines drawn through the text, but still readable underneath. I've been returning to this entry because the crossing out felt recent rather than archival. The lines were clean. The ink used to cross it out was a slightly different shade than the original entry. Someone added those lines after the fact, which means someone was in this ledger after it was filled. Tonight, her name is back. Not uncrossed. The crossing out lines are gone entirely, as if they were never drawn. The original entry reads cleanly, H.T. Morrison, with a date range and a reference code I haven't been able to trace. Her name is vivid. The entry looks freshly written. I don't have an explanation for this. I'm documenting it because I need a record that I saw both states, the crossed out version and this version, and that I did not alter either one. I want to go back to the photograph for a moment because I've been turning something over since I laid it next to the map. When I look at the image itself, not the crescent marks, the actual photograph, the building in the frame is 47 Marginal Road. I've confirmed this by going there. The angle matches the northeast corner, which is visible from the intersection 2 blocks down. Whoever took this photograph was standing at that intersection looking southwest. I've been to 47 Marginal Road 3 times now. The last time, the door marked 47, a door on the interior ground floor, not the main entrance, opened on its own while I was in the room with the ledger shelf. I documented this in recording 3. I didn't go through it that night. I wasn't ready to, or I didn't have time. I'm not entirely sure which. What I know is that the room beyond that door exists. I could see a desk from where I was standing. There was another cassette on the desk surface. I could see it from the doorway before I left. The 4th crescent mark on the photograph appeared after I stood at that doorway and didn't go through. I don't know if that's meaningful. I'm recording it because the timing feels significant, and I'd rather note it and be wrong than ignore it. The tape. The cassette I found in the first session, the one from the archive materials, not the one on the desk at 47 Marginal Road. I've been playing it back in sections, trying to isolate the fragments more precisely. The audio is degraded and there are long stretches of noise between the intelligible portions. 2 phrases have come through clearly enough that I'm confident in the transcription. The first, "It is not just," and then the audio cuts. That one I noted early, and I still don't have context for what follows the cut. The second, which I've now isolated more precisely, "Preserve in shadows." This one appears twice on the tape at different points, which I missed initially because the surrounding noise is different each time. Same phrase, different placement. That repetition feels intentional in a way that a single occurrence wouldn't. Tonight I played it again looking for a third phrase I thought I heard last session. I wasn't sure I'd actually heard it or imagined it from listening too many times. I heard it again tonight. In the section between the 2 preserve in shadows occurrences, under the noise, there's a third fragment. It's the least clear of the 3, but I've listened to it repeatedly now, and I'm writing down what I hear. Find. Path. That's 2 words separated by what sounds like a short gap or a splice. Find. Path. I can't make out anything before or after. I don't know if these 3 fragments belong to the same original recording or if the tape is assembled from multiple sources. The audio quality shifts slightly between sections in a way that suggests editing, but that could also just be tape degradation. What I know is that the tape says to preserve something in shadows and to find a path. and the photograph has a fourth crescent mark that wasn't there before, pointing to an intersection on the grid that isn't circled. I keep coming back to the desk in the room beyond door 47, the cassette sitting on it. I'm going to 47 Marginal Road tonight. I'm recording this before I leave, so it's documented, not as a decision I made impulsively, but as something I've been building towards since the door opened on its own 3 sessions ago. The fourth crescent mark is the confirmation I was waiting for without knowing I was waiting for it. The correspondence is close enough. The tape has been directing me toward a path. The ledger is actively changing. I need to hear whatever is on that second cassette. I'm taking the photograph, the map, and the key labeled 47. I'm leaving the ledger here. I don't want to bring it into that building until I understand more about what the building does to documents. I'm inside. Ground floor. It's approximately 1:30 in the morning, and the building is quiet in the particular way buildings are quiet when they've been quiet for a long time. Not silence exactly. The sound of nothing recent. The door marked 47 is closed. I'm standing in front of it now. I want to note something before I open it. Coming in tonight, I passed the ledger shelf, the shelf where I've been finding and replacing the ledger, and there's a new volume on it. I didn't touch it. I'm noting it because it wasn't there on my last visit, and I want to document that I saw it before I go through this door. Whatever happens next, that new ledger was already here. The key fits. The lock turns without resistance, which surprises me. I'd been half expecting it not to work, or to work differently, or to require something I didn't have. It opens cleanly. The room beyond is larger than the doorway suggested. A desk centered, like I saw from the threshold. Documents along the walls in stacks and folders. Maps, I think, and photographs. I can make out the edges of some from here. The cassette is still on the desk exactly where I saw it. The air is cooler in here, noticeably. About 4 degrees of difference, maybe more. I'm moving toward the desk. The documents on the walls, yes, maps. Several of them, overlapping, pinned at the corners. I can see crescent marks on 2 of them from here, more pronounced than the ones on my map, cut directly into the paper rather than drawn. The crescents here have numbers beneath them, small numerals. I can't read them from this distance. I'm at the desk. The cassette is unmarked. No label, no writing on the shell, no identification at all. I'm picking it up. It's lighter than the one from the archive materials. Newer, maybe, or a different type of tape entirely. I'm turning it over. On the underside of the shell, pressed into the plastic rather than written on it, a crescent mark, the same as the ones on the wall maps, with a number beneath it. The number is 4. I'm looking back at the wall maps, the numbered crescents. I need to get closer to read the other numbers, but from here I can make out there's a 1 near the bottom left corner of the nearest map. There's what looks like a 2 somewhere in the middle section. I'm reaching for the nearest map to look at I stop. The building is not empty.